All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Fruits Basket, Season 3, Episode 3. We have a bad dog.
Bad dog. Bad dog. Not laughing, not funny. No,
very bad
not
dog.
funny.
And the thing is, the signs were all there from the, very fucking beginning, but they were done for comedy. They were done for comedy, so we didn't look at them too closely.
And in some ways, a lot of them were done in the context of Akio, or not Akio,
Akito.
Akito.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of
Akio's Clannad.
That's Clannad.
If only we had a father that wholesome in this show.
Oh, God. We do have one, actually. His name's Kazuma.
Ah, right.
That's right. Yeah.
Not an actual dad, but
No, he's
yes. Yeah, right, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, bad dog.
Very bad dog.
Bad bitch.
Like, it recontextualizes just about everything from the whole thing of, oh yeah, ha ha ha, Shigure's into little girls, to even his editor, who he's just, treating like shit. And no, it's not funny. He is making that girl's life hell. And, well, I guess that's his thing.
And then all of the scheming and manipulating and gaslighting and...
Yep.
Yeah, he might be the worst. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Because
Ren was recently introduced. She's a contender as well for that upper spot, along with a couple other parents as well. So
I think she's run-of-the-mill as far as Fruits Basket parents go.
Oh, no, I agree. But we don't really know her that well.
That's true. She could get worse.
Yeah.
But amidst all of this, love is in the air at school. And,
flowers are being exchanged.
And I am here for it. I am absolutely here for
Foundations are being built.
That's right.
For futures.
Yep. So let's just keep that going. But,
Yeah.
Shigure.
Yeah. But hey, we've got a MACHI made in heaven, and we've got Kyo being really, really vulnerable with his emotions to...
Yeah. Kyori on my wayward son. No, that was terrible. I'm sorry.
No, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below. Then come back here for the discussion.
Okay.
It's so crazy how much the MACHI Yuki focus is so welcome, I feel like.
Yeah.
Even though she's such a new character when it comes to things, structurally.
Right.
And Yuki is such a beloved, original character that it's a thing of where we're like, wow, this is so fast in terms of how things are developing with regards to MACHI and him, Like, there was a lot of time where MACHI existed, and it was just developing Yuki. Like, there was pretty much nothing, hard and substantial being progressed with MACHI. So now seeing that, they both clearly like each other.
Yep.
There's been this attraction that has been building up, but now that we're actually making progress, it's cool. Let's see why this progress works, what it looks like.
Yep.
And yeah, they walked a similar path of needing to be perfect. And their parents specifically giving them no ways to succeed.
Right.
And not only that, changing the goalposts at times when they would actually come close to achieving the things that the parents wanted them to do.
Yep.
So it's like...
It's something where I feel like as a result of watching this show, I've gotten kind of inundated with the horrible parent syndrome, where when it ends up coming up, there's a part of me that's deadened to it, but at the same time...
Yeah.
There's this sense that I have that it's like, okay, but everything's gonna be fine, right?
Right.
Like I'm not as worried when the stuff gets brought up, because I know that the characters in the show have a lot more people close to them that understand their situations. And that will be able to help them through these types of things. So, yes, we can have a really uncomfortable set of things happening with MACHI, but then Yuki comes along, he breaks the piece of chalk, he says, I'll walk through the snow with you. Yeah, he makes the promise, and it's like, yes, that's awesome. Love it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's... The show is still going into the uncomfortable territory, and yet I feel much more at peace about it. And
yeah, I think this is also an example of where, because MACHI is not a Zodiac, one of the things that makes the parental dynamic with her I would say still feel like it hits pretty hard, despite, like you were saying, being numb to it, is that it's actually a pretty realistic response, because there's no magical stuff involved here. This is entirely fucked up kind of inheritance-based kind of grooming of a child to be that heir, and then
abandoning them
when they don't have any use in that regard.
Right.
And then it's like, wow.
And then also vilifying them for it, because the whole thing of them being
resenting
like,
her,
resenting her. Oh, she must be jealous of the other kid. That's an understandable thing to be like a concern, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we don't want her, like jealousy could be a problem here, but to have it get to the point where, one, she's not even jealous,
right,
and nothing that she says will convince them otherwise, and to the point that when she tries to put a blanket on the kid so that, you know, they don't get cold, they think she's trying to smother it. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that's...
That almost, to me, feels like it's a thing of where they didn't actually have the panic thing of the, this is something that we're as afraid that she did that, because I think that's part of it. But it could also just be the thing of, I have never really liked her, and we kind of resent her in this regard, so... Let's
just get rid of her.
Let's find an excuse to get rid of her.
Yeah, because like...
And maybe that wasn't the initial thought. Maybe they were initially panicked, but then they realized, she wasn't doing that? Oh, well, let's just commit to the bit.
Right.
Let's just commit to it.
Because okay. Believing that your child could and would do something like that is already, you know, a whole bag of cats, right?
Yeah.
Now, Machi has definitely acted out in some ways that could be described as violent, right? Not necessarily to a person, but to things around her. And okay. And as a result of them so completely needing to be blameless in this regard, right? And not addressing it for what it is, then they end up needing to basically attribute it to her. And then, she must be this she's just a fucked up kid. You know, that's just sort of how it is. God, I
really like that this story was one that they went into kind of a second time here. Because by framing it outside the bounds of a Zodiac kind of dynamic here and making it more about the, there's a money angle with like a, you know, we want, you know, a child that will be a, you know, presentable or respectable heir, what have you, within the idea of the you know, that other boy, that other, you know, that other child, you know, that you're competing with. No, never mind. And that's already super fucked up. But it's also the idea that I feel like a lot more people have had the, I need you to walk the razor's edge, the fine line. And that's not even necessarily looked at in some circles as abuse.
No.
It's looked at as like we're just trying to make the best child and raise the best child we can.
Sure.
Or and it's like,
put from another standpoint of things, let's take the whole heir dynamic and try and put that in the best possible type of situation, right? So not all of these extra environmental circumstances that makes it as bad as it was for Machi.
Yeah, there's like a preparation angle for like bearing a responsibility or a burden of some kind.
So then
they don't really have a choice regarding, but it's not going to dictate their entire life, you know?
Right, but it's the thing of the, so there are going to be some responsibilities. We need to teach you about these things. And so, you know, please bear with us in this. This is something that's going to need to happen, and we can talk through this and, you know, figure out how this is going to work. You know,
in the end, what you end up doing with the inheritance, we're not really as like wanting to be that could be that angle. Yes, where it's like we're not going to dictate what you do with it.
You don't need to take over the family business, but
we need to teach you how money works or something.
Right,
you know?
and teach you how the family business works, so that then you can make an informed decision that's not just based on I don't know how I would do it. You know, that way you can truly choose.
That's the other side, all the way over here,
where it's
off
like
screen, way over here.
But even in that situation, that could get all kinds of complicated, especially if there's other siblings involved, because let's say you don't want to have it be something where the children are competing to see who's going to be, like, get this financially very, very beneficial kind of thing. So you basically just say right out the gate, okay, we decide ahead of time, or it's the firstborn or whatever, right? You're going to get it, and so this is how it's going to go. That could definitely make a very uncomfortable dynamic that would need to be like traversed very carefully between the two siblings or more siblings, right?
Yeah.
If that was something that was going on. But holy shit, like it's the element of them that sees themselves as blameless. Even when they're blaming themselves, they don't actually like think about what the results of their actions are. It's just, okay, maybe we didn't do a great job. But that doesn't change how they see her at all.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't ask forgiveness or anything like that, or ask her, like, what do you think we should do here? What's the way that we can help?
Right.
Nope.
Yep. The fact that this story basically gives so many good examples of how abuse is not always physical.
Sure.
How abuse is not always a thing that has to do with, in some ways, direct power exerted for like control, but more subtle manipulation, where it's the kind of thing that from outsiders' perspective, it would be very, very tricky for other people to basically look at this and go, that's abuse.
Right. Because it can be a slippery slope in and of itself. It could start from potentially a well-meaning place and then go into something that is absolutely horrible.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring up the narrow road thing being actually a thing that I think a lot of kids grow up believing, even if on some level it's not really actually true. It's a thing of where it's, no, there's expectations being laid on you.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near something like what Machi was having to deal with.
Right.
I could totally see that being the case. But the thing I mentioned, the reaction, the nightmare, is literally like a thing for me, because I remember growing up, there was a point where I felt like this a little bit as well, but it was more societally, I felt like imposed rather than from like my parents or my family. It was more of a thing of where like I didn't feel like my personality and a lot of the ways that I shared my passions didn't like resonate with the world and stuff like that. So then when I would go off base with what people were interested in, it was like walking a razor's edge.
Sure.
But the annoying thing was that it was wide enough that I would get comfortable and I would forget that it's there. And then I'd be like, and I'd have like these wake-up calls where it basically felt like my equilibrium was thrown into question all of a sudden.
Sure, and then let me know if this resonates with you at all.
Yeah.
Then you can get into the situation where even when you're a place where you're totally good, you're safe, you're not close to, being in trouble, basically.
Right.
You still end up being terrified that you could go into that territory, and then you basically end up being
afraid of perfection, like the things that she was doing here. Yeah, that was the connection I was trying to make. Exactly. Yep. And that's the thing. Like the nightmare was basically, the idea was that I would walk the road and finish it. But because the road is not flat in my mind, it was slanted. It was the idea that as I would approach end, as I would approach the end, it would get harder.
Gotcha.
And it would get more and more vertical. So the idea, Jacob, look at this. This is literally the visualization of it. You get to the top, and then by the time you were there, oh look, you're isolated. You're on the top of a very long, narrow thing.
Just on one, like on a spindle, basically.
On a spindle, yeah. And it was just, oh my god, it would send me into anxiety, like total panic attacks of sorts. So seeing Machi go through this, I absolutely resonate with the Yuki is emotionally invested in seeing her succeed and overcome this and beat this and find restitution, find basically a form of healthy
being able to be whole.
Yeah, being able to be whole, but also not necessarily needing to fix everything and get perfect, basically.
Right. Yes.
So while I love that her anxiety regarding the chalk, for instance, is something that is not going to be easily solved by any specific thing or what have you, Yuki making a promise to tread that snow with her is fun from a pun standpoint because it's like, don't worry, you don't have to be scared of Yuki anymore.
Right. Well, and also just
this Yuki made a promise to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a result of that promise, her trauma is not gone. But interestingly enough, she ends up wishing for the traumatic thing to rear its head so that way she can then face it, as opposed to being terrified of facing it, right?
And it's not a traumatic thing in and of itself. Like,
the
thing that would trigger the traumatic response.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right, right. So yes, the wounds are still there.
Right.
They are not healed. This is something where she has been changed potentially forever by this. She might always see a nice even box of chalk or something and think, I need to break that, right? But having that be something where then she's in control of it, right? And able to address it without fear, then there you go, right?
Yeah, I think another thing that's really important, because I really resonate with a lot of her struggles in this regard, is that what she does socially actually ends up isolating her in a way that I don't think she wants. I don't think Machi is one that you could even theoretically classify as an introvert by choice, or even as an introvert by nature.
Right.
I think it's a thing of where she's had so many things that have happened that have had her end up accidentally or intentionally pushing people away to the point where, because someone pushed their way in a very unprincely way into her environment and stuff and made this promise here, you see where I'm going with this, basically. She's been saved by also a prince, basically, in her tower that she's been locked away in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's flipped
pretty
the
wonderful.
Whole thing to where Yuki's arc was about not being the prince for the sake of it.
Right. And then he ended up being the prince.
Doing it because he was forcefully escorted by his horse that just decided, we're going this way. It's like, what the fuck are we going this way?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, God damn it. I love the comedy, basically, of this whole setup, because I'll bet you anything the mangaka was like,
oh yeah,
this is totally like just a little inside joke for me, you know.
And Kakeru understands that he would not be able to do stuff like this because of the past experiences that he and Machi have shared.
They were rivals.
both in the similarities, but then also in the fact that they were rivals, and so there would be, while they could understand, they are also indirectly the source of the pain. So
yeah, he's a source of that potential for having another panic anxiety attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he ends up taking a back seat. I love the way that he comes in, like the fact that he gets Yuki there, right, and he's like, "Oh, hi," right?
She tries to shut the door, foot in, coming through. You know?
Yep, exactly, and then immediately cleans up.
Yep.
Which is a thing that's just okay, cool. That's helpful, right? Like you're not just. A lot of the times, this character archetype, I feel like, can be given too much wiggle room,
leeway.
Too much leeway.
I know what you mean.
And then they end up just kind of being a dick, right? And they can be a lovable dick, but you know, it's that can still kind of end up being what they're doing.
There was some good setup as to why this scene is one where she was not upset with him, though. I would love to break that down if you want to go into it.
Yeah, sure. Because I think they have a pretty well established dynamic with regards to this. You know, in that like he's the. I understand what you're going through.
Yep.
You don't feel comfortable talking with me about it because because a lot of it started as a result of
else.
Me. Sure, but maybe also potentially not went by themselves. Okay, but that's okay because we don't need to.
Do you want to actually know that I think that's not true?
Yeah. Okay.
What was the first scene we saw them in?
Is when they go into.
The student council room,
and
she had been trashing the place,
right? And then he goes
and he was just chilling there,
right?
He was letting it happen.
Yep.
So I think actually he's totally fine with her acting out in front of him, and she knows that he's totally fine with her acting out in front of him. But once there's anybody else that comes in, they have an understood agreement that he will cover for her. He will basically make things right. So, by extension, we can, I would say, deduce that she feels safe around him. So, when they come in and she tries to shut the door, the only reason is because she saw Yuki there. It is not because he is barging into her space. If anything, I think he has probably total blank check to barge into her space and be like, hey,
I agree.
Do you need somebody to just be there? Because she's alone.
So I agree. What I'm getting at is that I think she will absolutely is fine with him with being around him and things like that, and him
even being awkwardly going there, like pushing through into it, you know.
But she won't necessarily talk to him about it, I think.
Okay, that's fair, but I think that's a little bit of like a what is talking if it's not processing, and I think acting out in a physical way is just another form of processing. I don't think they need to talk specifically because they both know. They know what's been going on. So it's a thing of where her acting out and destroying the student council room is talking to her. That's her just processing that. And he's just like, yep, I don't need to say anything.
I'm not saying that I don't think that's helpful. Okay, I think it's absolutely helpful, and that's why he does it. That's, you know, like they have a dynamic that definitely works. But when it comes right down to it, when the rubber meets the road, there are things that he kind of doesn't have permission to do, I feel like, and that's why he ended up excusing himself. It wasn't just because Yuki and Machi like each other. It's because Yuki has a different position in the relationship with Machi than he does, aside from the romance, right? And as a result of that, because he like in my mind, the way I see it is because he's basically an unrelated third party that is able to understand, then he's able to connect with her on it and get her to open up more about it than just being present and accepting when she lashes out.
May I add a stipulation onto this? I'm just trying to translate a little bit, but I feel like also I kind of get more of what you're trying to say. You're just building up to it really well. Is that, well, he can't save her from this.
Exactly.
The simplest thing is that literally he can't be the prince for her in that respect. It needs to be a third party, like you're saying.
Right.
And Yuki is not just any third party. He is the third party, but it's not just that. It's that in terms of his lovable dumbass. No, our boy, Kakeru. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I saw Minagawa for a second. I was like, wait, who's Minagawa this episode? I'm like, right, the leader. Yeah. But no, Kakeru having this brazen kind of just aggressive. Kind of almost like mocking personality of sorts.
Yeah.
I think he helps her definitely stay steady at times by having a bit of processing there. And I do think that helps.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I disagree in the idea that he can't actually be a bit of equilibrium and bring balance.
No, and again, I don't think that either.
Okay.
I think he absolutely can help, and so there's a reason. Like, if he didn't think, him coming to her place like this, yes, he's bringing Yuki, but I absolutely think that given the way that she responded to him, and then it was when she saw Yuki that she freaked out. This is not necessarily the first time this has happened. I wasn't surprised by the room or anything like that, right? So. And he probably wouldn't do that if it wasn't something that helped on some level, right? So I think it definitely helps, but it's something where he had to leave the room in order for this stuff to be able to happen.
Yeah.
Not just and I think it goes beyond just the romance angle. And so
of course.
I love the way that he excused himself because he did the thing that was very helpful of helping to clean up and stuff. And then used that very thing as the excuse to leave, so there wouldn't even necessarily be any pressure for Machi to then talk about it with Yuki,
or for Yuki
to talk about it with her, or Yuki to leave, or anything, because it's just nope. That's just how it works, right?
Yeah. And then the son of a bitch snuck back in and just sat there and waited because I feel like from from Kakeru's perspective, and this is a really tough thing, because I resonate with Kakeru a lot as well, now that I kind of think about him a little bit more, like, holistically. He has a similar situation to MACHI, but he can't actually be that third party that comes in.
Right.
But he wants to. He really wants to. And there's an element of his bluntness that I really respect, but I also kind of can feel his own frustrations at his powerlessness at times.
Sure.
Where he's like, I can't do anything here. I can just be here, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's hella frustrating when you have someone that you care about that's suffering.
Yep.
But all you can really do is be there for them. And it's the thing of where, oh, if you're there, that's great.
Yeah, that still does a lot.
It's actually really good and really helpful. But then it's the thing of where you go, oh, but am I going to be able to be there for them all the time? Can I be there for them even when I'm weak?
Sure.
Can I be there for them even when I'm not doing well?
Right.
Can I be there for them when they're hurting me, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing where I feel like people, and this show does a really good job of this, need to understand boundaries. When I say that Kakeru wouldn't be an asshole to say basically that he can't be there for MACHI at a specific moment, or
right?
What have you.
Yep.
In fact, in a lot of ways, I'm sure that has happened a bit already.
Reen's situation is an example
Great
of,
example
of
that.
what happens when you don't do that, right? When you don't give yourself time to basically tend to your own needs and everything.
Oh, okay. Oh, got you. But what do you mean by that? Like,
with her parents, when they would basically put on the facade that everything was perfect and fine and all of that stuff, and then eventually they snap.
Oh, I was talking about boundaries with regards to like saying basically that no, I can't actually like do that for you. It's learning to say no more than like reaching out.
Yeah,
I
I feel like the two are very similar.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
slight alterations.
They're cousins. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Wow, but yeah, that's some fantastic stuff. The romantic developments with MACHI are real.
Yep.
We now have graduation happening. We have Minagawa getting a bit of focus, which is
cool.
fun. Sure,
Okay.
I liked that. This is kind of their thing of saying, "Hey, Yuki fan club, moving on."
Exit stage right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But okay, lots of characters then going through with their graduation there. We'll need to double check, on the idea of who's graduating. But
right.
We can do that. We can do that in between recordings. But Reen has disappeared, and this is built up from previous episodes. This is something that Reen was very much in the, oh, I'm going to solve this thing. I'm going to investigate. I'm doing this or what have you. But Reen also graduated. So Akito, coming out of a little place with some scissors
and
that looked very similar to the place that they're going to
keep Kyo.
Keep Kyo. Yeah, to keep Kyo.
Tongue twister.
Kyo. Yeah.
With long black hairs.
Yeah, that very much reminded us of
Of Reen.
of Reen. Yeah.
And specifically right after people were talking about Reen. So Reen is probably being trapped there. But what I'm wondering is why? Because
I think there's a couple things, right?
Yeah.
Like
What you thinking?
Well, I don't think there's anything that's like that needs to be any grand explanation. Is kind of what you're bringing up. Like,
right,
it's a thing of where it's obviously happening.
Right, it's obviously happening. It's not something that was like as much of like a premeditated regular thing as like, oh, the cat Zodiac gets locked up, So this is something that.
Yeah.
So this is something that Akito specifically is doing because she wants Reen locked up. But
I think there's a couple things though that are pretty much being implied.
What are you thinking?
So this was framed around the idea of the graduation.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So Akito has someone that loves Hatsuharu. That's a romance that is happening.
Okay.
And we just kind of
sure.
They've been just getting away with it.
Yep.
And this might be Akito's vengeance in that regard.
Sure. The other thing,
no romance outside of the, well, outside of me kind of thing.
The other thing that I could see happening is if Akito found out that she tried to seduce Shigure as a way to get information about breaking the curse, Akito would probably be pretty pissed.
Yeah, there's plenty of little things like that.
Yeah.
The other one is that, we were recently kind of officially introduced to Ren, and Ren and Rin
look very similar.
Yeah, their names are kind of similar from my English perspective in that regard. But, that could be as well. There's also just the idea that maybe this is Akito prepping for,
trial run at the cage. See how it handles having someone in it or something like that.
Having someone graduate, could actually be a part of that.
Right.
So there's a couple things that are all like lightly sprinkled in that could be the actual explanation. But then we also have to remind ourselves that while Akito has been dealing with some shitty people, Akito is a shitty person.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not get it twisted.
Yep.
Akito tortures people, abuses people.
Yep.
Is a shitty person. So Akito being shitty
is not really any surprise.
Too. Like that obviously she's going to have a reason.
Right.
She comes up with all kinds of reasons.
Totally.
But
cool motive, still murder.
Yeah, cool motive, still abuse. Yeah,
right.
So that's what we're dealing with, at the very least. But Toru and the boar Kagura.
Oh yeah,
are smelling something's afoot here.
Exactly.
Shigure seems to potentially know
and be trying to cover it up.
This is obviously some kind of Akito stuff,
right?
But here's a thought here.
Okay.
What if this is part of Shigure's, scheming again? And
I can see that.
It's the thing of where Akito's locking someone up that's in a relationship.
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
How is Hatsuharu gonna feel about this?
Oh, I get the feeling we might seeing Black Hatsuharu pretty soon. Yeah. This will be interesting because this is the kind of there were a lot of things that I expected would happen in season 3, but Rin being locked up was not on my list.
If anything, I thought that Rin would end up getting hurt by Akito.
Sure.
But maybe that's literally just what this is, Jacob.
Yeah, and
I think that's the point here. Is that
Rin has had the worst thing happen to her from Akito in that Akito tried to kill her.
Yeah.
So okay.
It tracks that Akito does not like Rin and would try to hurt Rin again. So regardless as to why now, why here, and all that, we'll probably find out rather quickly. But oh goody. Yay. Fruits Basket, final season. Yay. Let's wrap up all the plot lines and get this Soma fucked up family all resolved here. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see it there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.